robots, mushrooms. Two things you don't usually hear in the same sentence, right? But trust me, this is way more fascinating than it sounds.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We're diving into the world of mycelium, that network of fungal threads, and how it could revolutionize how we power robots sustainably.
Honestly, when I first got this research you sent over, I was picturing like a robot with little mushroom caps for wheels or something. But it's not quite that literal, is it?
No, not quite. Think of it more like this. Underneath the forest floor, there's this hidden network of mycelium connecting everything. And this network, it doesn't just move nutrients around, it also sends these electrical signals, kind of like our nervous system.
So it's almost like the forest is wired up, but naturally.
Yeah, exactly. And researchers are figuring out how to tap into those signals using the mycelium itself as a sort of living battery to power robots.
Okay, that's kind of blowing my mind right now. So instead of those traditional batteries, which we all know have those environmental downsides with the mining and the waste, we could have robots powered by mushrooms.
You got it. And the best part is, it's not just about being eco-friendly. Mycelium, it grows everywhere. So,
Yeah.
It's constantly regenerating. So it's a much more sustainable resource compared to digging up rare earth metals for conventional batteries.
You said something earlier about tapping into the signals.
Yeah.
How does that actually work? What does it even look like to power a robot with a mushroom?
Well, researchers can actually measure the electrical output of the mycelium.
Yeah.
And by placing electrodes strategically, they can kind of harness that energy, that electrical energy, and use it to power simple circuits, the building blocks of any robot.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the power part down. But what about control? I mean, robots, they move, they interact. Our research mentioned these robots being able to react to their environment using these fungal signals.
Right. So, for example, let's say you have a simple robot and it's programmed to, move towards light. As the mycelium grows, researchers can actually kind of manipulate its growth direction. So imagine it almost like guiding the robot towards that light source.
So we're not talking about programming in complex algorithms or anything. It's about using the mycelium's natural growth.
Yeah, and you can do that by adjusting the light exposure or even introducing specific nutrients that will encourage growth in a particular direction. It's early days, but the potential is huge.
So instead of relying on complex sensors and algorithms, we're essentially harnessing the inherent intelligence of mycelium to power and decontrol these robots.
Precisely. It's this bio-inspired approach that has everyone so excited.
There was a really cool example in the research about a starfish-shaped robot. It was incredible seeing how it could move and interact. Are there other examples of these robots in action?
Oh yeah, definitely. One area where this technology really has potential is environmental monitoring. Just imagine using these biodegradable robots powered by mycelium to, say, go into areas with pollution. They could use their fungal networks to not only detect toxins, but maybe even neutralize them. And then once their job is done, they just decompose back into the environment. No harm done.
That's incredible. We wouldn't be adding to the problem we're trying to solve. We've talked about mycelium's ability to sense changes in the environment. What makes it so adaptable compared to the sensors that we use in traditional robots?
Well, traditional sensors, they usually rely on, complex electronics and programming to detect specific changes, right? Mycelium, on the other hand, it's got this natural sensitivity to its surroundings. I mean, it can detect subtle variations in light, temperature, moisture, even the presence of certain chemicals, all these things that could be signs of a changing environment.
So it's not just a case of swapping one sensor for another. It's a whole different way of sensing and responding. It's like nature has a bit of an upper hand here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And it's not just about sensing, is it? Our research mentioned something about self-healing robots. Now that's where things start to feel like a sci-fi movie.
It's pretty mind-blowing, right? I mean, the idea that if a robot gets damaged, the mycelium inside could actually, grow and repair the structure, just like it would in nature. Pretty amazing.
So we're talking about robots that can heal themselves. What would that mean in a practical sense?
Well, imagine robots that can handle really tough environments, like disaster zones, right? Extreme temperatures, maybe structural damage. Or what about space exploration? Sending replacement parts is a nightmare. But if the robot could just fix itself, game changer.
Right. It'd be like having a robot that could bounce back from almost anything. And going back to those environmental uses we were talking about, like cleaning up pollution after an oil spill, those environments can be brutal on equipment. A self-healing robot could be incredibly effective.
Exactly. And think about the sustainability aspect, too. Robots that last longer, that need fewer repairs, that means less waste in the long run.
When you compare this technology to, like, your typical robot that relies on batteries and all that goes into making them, it really highlights the elegance of this biological approach. It's like we're moving away from this purely mechanical mindset towards something that feels more in tune with the natural world.
I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, traditional robots, with all the rare earth metals and the complex manufacturing, they're kind of stuck in that cycle of resource depletion and pollution. But with this mycelium tech, it's a closed loop. It regenerates, it works with natural processes, not against them.
It makes you realize we spent so long thinking about technology and nature as being at odds, but this research really flips that on its head. It's like we're finally realizing that nature doesn't just inspire solutions, it provides them.
And those solutions, like we've been saying, often come with all these added bonuses, right?
Yeah.
Sustainability, amazing adaptability, even self-repair. Honestly, it's an incredible time to be working at this intersection of biology and tech. It feels like anything is possible.
You know, it's funny, when I first saw this research on mushroom-powered robots, I almost dismissed it as, I don't know, some kind of science fiction thing.
Right, like out of a movie or something.
Exactly. But the more we talk about this, the more I'm realizing this technology is really onto something big.
It really is. It's like, instead of trying to outsmart nature, we're finally taking a step back and saying, hey, maybe nature already has the answers.
Exactly. It really gets you thinking, if we can do this with fungi, what other possibilities are out there that we haven't even thought of yet?
Well, you mentioned sustainable agriculture earlier, but that's another area where this tech could be huge.
Oh, yeah. How so?
So remember how we were talking about mycelium's ability to sense changes in its environment? It doesn't just pick up on light and moisture. It can actually detect things like nutrient levels in the soil, even the presence of certain plant diseases.
So instead of just like blanketing an entire field with fertilizers and pesticides, which we know is great for the environment.
Exactly. We could have these mushroom-powered robots working down at the root level, delivering targeted treatments only where they're needed.
Less waste, less pollution, healthier crops. It's amazing to think that this one technology, just by harnessing what fungi can already do, could have such a huge impact across so many different fields. Robotics, environmental cleanup, agriculture.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is, right? And as we get better at tapping into these natural solutions, who knows what else we'll discover?
It feels like we're on the verge of a whole new era of technology, one that's not about conquering nature, but about working with it.
I like the sound of that.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to digest today, haven't we? From the basics of mycelium and how it can actually power and control robots, to its potential to clean up our environment, make our food systems more sustainable. It's pretty clear these mushroom-powered robots are way more than just a cool idea. They represent a whole new way of thinking about our relationship with technology and the natural world.
Couldn't agree more.
So, to all our listeners out there, the next time you see a mushroom, don't just walk by. Take a second and think about the incredible network it represents, because beneath the surface, there's a whole world of possibilities just waiting to be explored. Who knows, maybe you'll be the one to unlock them. That's it for today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never underestimate the power of a good mushroom.